welcome again, you suckers, to another edition of What the Franklin with Chip Franklin and Nikki Medoro. Interesting day this Friday, the 28th of June, as we take in the debate from last night.
Or whatever that is, whatever that was.
Whatever that was. And let me just say this, that first of all, everybody knew this wasn't Biden's forte, right? So that it was some spectacular fail when the other guy simply just lied and did his car salesman act.
Yes.
You know, I mean, I don't think there'll be any real strong move to replace Joe Biden, although it will make the Chicago convention in August interesting, because by then it'd be way too late, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've heard, I don't know. I mean, what was, did you watch the whole thing?
Oh my God. Okay. So the thing was, so I'm making dinner. So I set the scene. I'm making dinner. I have my phone going. And the minute Biden opens his mouth, you hear the raspiness. And I'm like, crap, get the guy. And then I'm looking, like, does he have a bottle of water? Because there were so many rules, right? And I was like, are they not even allowed to have a bottle of water up there? And then I thought, okay, he has a raspy voice, cough it out. It's fine. And then that first answer where he lost his train of thought, I cussed and I was like, that's it. Like, he's lost the debate. I mean, this is what people need to remember. Policy-wise, answer-wise, yes, he fumbled, mumbled, got off track.
But they were solid answers.
He answered the question.
Yeah.
Trump, it was nonsense. Every time I was like, if I take a shot every time Trump doesn't actually answer the question that's asked, I would be dead by now. And so Trump was Trump. Nothing changed. He is exactly who he was. He didn't answer the questions. And when he did, his policy sucked. Did you pay attention when he was asked, how would you deport everybody? He never answered it. When he asked about Roe v. Wade, it was awful. So policy-wise,
the idea of handing it back to the states, I want to tell you that Oklahoma just the other day said that they have to teach the Bible in public schools. Yeah. So the idea that states are somehow this wise and deep and profound group of individuals is a freaking joke.
Why do I want my governor any more than I want my president in the doctor's office with me? Why do I want my government, whether it's federal or state, in my medical decisions? That's the point, is I don't want any government in my private life like that, in my medical decisions. They don't know my situation, and so they shouldn't be involved at all. That's my point.
I mean, all I really want to do right now is talk about Justin Timberlake's DUI.
This is totally going to ruin the tour.
Yeah. I think that I get this sense that this is different than 2016 for a couple of reasons. And that before 2016, it's like, well, let's see what happens. Well, we know what's going to happen, and it's going to be a lot worse, because in 2016, he surrounded himself, with the Rex Tillersons and, the Mattises and the Mark Espers and the, normal people, I mean, to a certain
He's not going to make that mistake again.
No, he won't. I mean, we're talking about the idea of Mike Flynn as the Attorney General. Now, granted, he won't make it through Senate confirmation hearings, assuming that the Senate doesn't go to the Republicans. And then I have to just ask myself, what Republican would allow Mike Flynn, a convicted felon who lied to the FBI and was also working with Turkey behind the backs of American intelligence? Again, Ergeron and others, these are dictators. These are horrible human beings. And so or Stephen Miller as head of Homeland Security. I mean, you think about these scenarios, I think we got to start talking about, everybody knows what Biden has proposed. And maybe what we need to do is to show just how insane this is. And I said this to Frank earlier, Frank Figliuzzi, a former assistant director of the FBI. We say, look, Democrats are so worried about what could happen under that kind of scenario, because we did it ourselves to Black people in the 60s. Our FBI, with Democrats in charge to a large extent, spied and tapped phones. It was wrong, and it could have led to a lot worse, and it will lead to a lot worse if it's done today. So that's why. So, I mean, they're not going to do that. But, it'd be nice to see the Democrats, again, today, everybody's freaking out, saying that we've got to get somebody else in there. And, I mean, Jesus.
I don't think you could switch course on a candidate this late. I know the conventions haven't happened. I understand you can.
Well, if Biden decided, like I'm just not physically up to it, and and supported somebody else, it could definitely work. It could definitely work. And
But people are throwing out Newsom, and I just don't see
Newsom's
Newsom.
not going to be the if it here's the perfect combination would be um,
Don't
Whitmer,
throw out a woman's name because it
Gretchen
can't be two
Whitmer,
women.
Gretchen Whitmer,
You
and
can't put women on the ticket. You gonna think Kamala Harris is gonna step down? No.
no,
So
yeah, no. Here's the cool part about. I mean, first of all, it doesn't matter. I mean, Kamala Harris is part of the Biden ticket,
right.
and so if you're going to replace, you replace both.
You think that Kamala Harris is going to let Biden step down and lose her shot at the White House? Nah, that
Well,
ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna
again,
happen.
if you're talking about, well, I mean, look,
You keep Biden in there. And then you make the argument, and people are like, well, you should be afraid of a Kamala Harris presidency. Okay. And this is what I always say to people, Republicans that say that. I go, okay, why? Name one policy decision that Kamala Harris differs from President Biden.
she's black.
Exactly. They just don't like her.
Yeah.
Now, there's nothing policy wise that she isn't different from President Biden. They are exactly the same policy wise. She will continue on. So I'm not afraid of a Kamala Harris.
You're
presidency.
rational, though, Nick.
Exactly. So that's as a Democrat, though. That's what I would say to other Democrats if they're like, "Oh my God, what are we going to do? What if he dies in office?" Okay, if he dies in office, if anybody dies in office, you look at your VP. Now, I would pay more attention if I was a Republican to Donald Trump's VP, which he does not have one. Donald Trump is insane, and he didn't prove his case that he has matured or calmed down at all, become any more rational. And so I would never go from a vote for Joe Biden, watch the debate and be like, okay, now I'm voting for Donald Trump. That's not happening. No one in their right mind is seeing that happen. So while Biden did not do well, I don't think any votes were actually changed last night.
No, I think if you're talking about independence in the 7 swing states, and most importantly, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. Yeah, I mean, they all knew. I mean, Pennsylvania knows Biden. He's from there. They know him. Like you said, everything that finally came out of his mouth was sensical, and I don't know if he was sick or what happened, but I mean,
they could have led with that before the debate. If he actually he sounded sick. He did sound sick. I don't think it was a lie, but God, he could have led with it before the debate, so it didn't seem like an excuse.
What do you mean? Just said I've been a little sick or something, or something?
Or before the debate even happened, had some of his people come out and say, "Hey, he has a bit of a cold," just so people could have been prepared before the dude opened his mouth and everyone. I gasped the first 3 words out of the dude's mouth, and I was like,
I thought he'd clear your throat.
Yeah, I was like,
and then he started talking faster. Right. Look,
and he kept trying to squeeze everything in. His finals, the closing remarks. Are you frigging kidding me right now? The closing remarks. You don't need a laundry list. All of your accomplishments, Biden. Not to mention, you're having a hard time recalling things this whole debate.
Yeah,
I think heart, dude. You didn't need to remember anything.
I would have. I think I would have done the prep in another direction. The 4 areas that they were really going to focus on. I mean, obviously the economy, and then when you start going down from that, and you talk, you tear up the economy. You have to talk about inflation. You can talk about the 9% claim if you want, but every step of that. I mean, with Ukraine, the answer is simple. These are our allies.
Exactly.
And we have an obligation.
Stronger with them. Yes.
That's it. We are stronger with them. When you want to talk about the Middle East, and we're going to talk about that, is Israel is our ally. And we, but we don't agree with everything in their approach on fighting Hamas, with, the economy, and say that we had a GDP higher than Trump ever did for 3 quarters. Trump's GDP never exceeded 3%. For Americans that don't understand what gross domestic product means, it is how the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, charts the growth of our economy. And you can look at the other numbers too, which are very important with unemployment. And then again, you look at the pandemic and how it affected all of this.
Right.
I'm just going to tell you, instead of, what Trump has said, when he starts to attack Trump and gets emotional about it, it's difficult. You and I have done this. This is what we do, right? I've done it my entire life. with a microphone, which means I've said plenty of stupid shit over the years, right? And we'll testify to that. You can probably find some of it on the internet. However, there in my head, there's always a line, and I've learned how to do this when something's not working, whether it's stand-up comedy or radio, or, the two of us have been together in a show sometimes, and just something doesn't click. It doesn't go the way you think it's going to. That's what happened yesterday. And so I get people freaking out, and my wife and I said, we're not going to be those people that are going to freak out. I'm not saying that, Biden might not be replaced or anything. I'm just saying that right now, the worst thing we can do is panic. Well, as Americans, I think.
The truth of the matter is we shouldn't be voting right now. And I know people are like, yes, we're voting for the person. We're voting for the policies. We're voting for the direction we want this country to go.
Yeah.
Where do you want this country to go? And yes, this is the leader, but we are voting for much more than that. I was listening to analysis this morning, and this is so true. Republicans have been voting for judges. Every time they put somebody in the White House, they are looking to the Supreme Court. And look what happened. It led all the way to Donald Trump and those 3 appointments he made. And now look at where our country is. Okay, so we need to stop looking at this one person, this one presidential election, as if that's going to solve all of our problems. Look at the policies. What do you want? What do you want? And all I'm saying is when I go in the ballot box in November, I am voting for a policy. And whether it's Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, I don't give a crap. It's a Democrat, because the Democratic policies is what I want for this country. That's it.
Yeah. It's interesting. I'm going to mail mine in, by the way.
I always hand mine in because I like to get the sticker.
I get it. Yeah. I think that, what the Supreme Court, it's probably going to come out it could come out today or could come out next week, the immunity case.
It's going to come out today.
It is?
Today's the last day. Yeah. Yeah. I have my phone ready. Yeah. Today's the last day. It's coming out today.
All right. So, when people see this, which will be just a couple hours before you're seeing this, the question will be, how they frame that discussion. Sotomayor, I don't know if you saw this yesterday, but Sotomayor came out with a strong attack on Alito and Thomas, and not so much Kavanaugh. Coney Barrett actually did too. Came out a little bit about worried about the direction the court seems to be headed, which is a direction of ideology and not based on the law. Which is, when you figure you got somebody that came from like a Handmaid's Tale cult saying that, that it's bad if she thinks it's bad. Right. No, I mean,
exactly.
Kavanaugh, Gorsuch, Roberts, Sotomayor, and Jackson, I think, make up 5 people. I hope that can, save this country if in fact the worst case scenario happens and Donald Trump is elected president. The things he's promised to do, I don't know if he'll do. If he did it to assuage, the January 6th crowd. But if he starts to pardon these people, it will be a signal to all the white supremacists and white nationalists that they can do whatever they want, and that this guy will pardon their actions, which is not true, because obviously you can't have a country like that. And you might end up, it's quite possible that that if Trump makes these promises and doesn't deliver, he'll have more than the Democrats to worry about with Christian nationalists.
I don't know. He never threw Hillary Clinton in jail. He never threw her in jail.
It was a different world. That was 8 years ago. He's mentally ill. His mental cognitive abilities have dramatically decreased.
He just says things to get applause, Chip. Honestly, I don't really think he ever wants to do anything but golf. And he wants to be at the
this
center.
Keeps him out of jail. He has to run.
You think he actually has a plan for this country? You think he sits at night?
No, but
you know who does for the American people?
But you know who does have a plan? Stephen Miller and Mike Flynn.
Exactly. So it's not as if Donald Trump is like, what can I do? No, there's people in his ear. You're absolutely right. So be afraid of those people. Absolutely. But Donald Trump, seeking retribution, I guess, if Stephen Bannon's out of prison and all these sorts of things. Yes. But I don't know. We don't have control over all of them. We just have to keep Trump out of the White House. That's what I'm saying. We have to keep Trump out of the White House. Now, as far as the U.S. Supreme Court, I mean, they reduced the scope today of the obstruction claim against some of the January 6ers by saying, yes, there was obstruction, but they didn't, kind of destroy the documents or what have you. And
SCOTUS released this?
They did that this morning. Yes. So who knows? Some of these cases, and it's not all the January 6ers, but it's some. But we still don't know about Trump's immunity claim. We don't know what it's going to do to Trump's immunity claim.
In effect, the immunity claim has already worked, right? I mean, he's not going to get the January 6th case and the documents case in Cannon's court aren't going to move forward before the election. Right. And now they're really, now the right is really going to freak after last night's debate, if in fact they move to try Trump and try to put him in prison. Here's my question is, what does this do to Merchan and July 11th and his sentencing date? What is last night, if anything? I mean, he's a human being. I mean, it's obviously
it shouldn't do anything. I mean, you know what I mean? He should still sentence the way that he sentenced. I still don't think that Donald Trump is going to see prison time over it. You know what I mean? I don't think it changes.
Not, but he deserves it. I mean, it's 34 counts. And, again.
With no criminal history.
I know, but again, you're talking about
34. Believe me, I agree. In my daydream, he'd serve prison time, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Well, no, I think under normal circumstances, and he wasn't running for president, it might happen.
Maybe.
I mean, just based on the fact that, again, a judge is not a jury. Okay, so a judge that does sentencing, can a judge look at Florida and look at Georgia and look at January 6th and say, wow, this guy is a danger. This guy poses a danger to this country.
Is that how sentencing is supposed to be done?
I don't know. I mean, I know that, juries are told, by judges what they can consider and not consider. And I don't know, under federal, this is New York law. So I don't know how New York law works about being able to look at other cases. The people that are watching this that have consternation, to me, this is the time where you just have to get strong. We've all been through tough parts in our lives, periods, and you go one or two directions. It may, what did Nietzsche say, right? If it doesn't kill you. I mean, I really believe that. And I know it's hard. I know, it's hard. Like I got up today and my wife and we didn't watch the Today Show like we normally do. I didn't want to hear Savannah Guthrie do her little pivoting because NBC doesn't want to, they want to get as many people as they can. So they want to piss off Trump people. It's really pathetic.
No, I don't watch the Today Show. Really. I turned on CNN this morning and it was just a
bloodbath. You got little kids, man, you're running when you hit the ground, right? Yeah. So, I mean, how many things? It's early. We're taping this at 9 a.m.
Yeah, no, they're still sleeping. It's summertime, Chip. I'm the only one running around the house with my dog.
Oh, so. That's right. It is summertime. Okay, yeah.
They're pissed at me because I'm being loud, probably. I bet my kids are screaming in the room.
Yeah, it's
shut
true.
The hell up.
I mean, there's a bedroom on the wall right behind me here. So
Yeah, my daughter's like right there.
Yeah. I think that, again, trying to get people to feel, and this is the difficult part of this. I think that Max Brooks was on as a guest with Frank Figluzzi and I, which that drops on Monday. And we talked about his new book, which is called Tiger Chair, which is an attack on Taiwan by China. And just, all of the areas of the world that have problems. He wrote a book called World War Z that Brad Pitt was starred in the movie.
Oh, yeah. I like that movie.
It was a zombie movie, but really what it was about is how people act in a pandemic like state. And I know, we know each other pretty well. I know how much you hate dystopian things. It's one of your greatest fears that the government falls apart and everybody's running on their own.
Mass hysteria.
Hysteria. Yeah. And that can happen. We've seen it happen in other countries. We've never really seen it happen here, except maybe in, New York City when the lights go out or something. But I think that if you look in the past and you look at what's happened, there's a great book by Eric Larson, and I don't know why I keep bringing this up because I always forget the title. I want to say Midnight in the Garden of Evil, I think is the name. Eric with a K.
There was a movie called that, Midnight in the Garden of
No.
Evil?
That's a different one. That's the one with Kevin Spacey. I know that's one you're talking about.
Yeah.
Eric Larson, ERIK. Look it up. Larson, see the name of the book. But anyway, the book is about a true story of an American ambassador in Germany in the early 30s. Nobody wanted the spot, so this guy got it. He took his family there, and he saw the Third Reich grow, and he saw it
In the Garden of Beasts.
in the Garden of Beasts. Thank you.
There you go.
And Eric Larson's a fantastic writer. He's also written about the Lusitania. He wrote about a hurricane that created the National Weather Service in Galveston in 1907. But what he's really good at is taking a historical event and putting it in front of you, and then you go, "Holy crap, that's happening right now."
Yeah.
And the fact that we have people like Nick Fuentes and Marjorie Taylor Greene arm in arm, and he denies the Holocaust happened. She denies 9/11 occurred as described. So, and these are people that, close enough to a sphere of influence to cause concern, great concern. We know that Trump is not a bright man. I don't, his Wharton professor said he was the dumbest goddamn student I ever had. And to listen to him talk, I mean, he can't talk policy. Janet Yellen, the former head of the Fed, said he had no idea what macroeconomics was.
No, I mean, just go to his rallies. I mean, and everyone was making fun. And I don't know if we talked about it last time, but the whole shark and the battery thing. And I know that we make fun of it and we laugh about it. And, oh, nobody's ever asked a question like that. It's because of my connection with MIT. And then people literally look at us and go, but Biden. And I go, and I don't want to do this, but Trump kind of back and forth. But at least with Biden, he cares about this country. Well, there is no comparison. Like, Trump is, like you mentioned, not a smart man, and he's not a good man. Like, he is not. There is no argument. There is no evidence that this guy is a good father, a good husband, a good Catholic. You know what I mean? Like, he's none of these things that everyone holds him up on this pedestal for. And I go, why are you defending him?
And for the record, the people that we want to deport, they stay married. They don't get divorced. Hispanics. They go to church every Sunday. Yeah. They worship their family, and their older family members live with them till they die. It is the part of America that we remember from the 1950s that everybody seems to love. And these are the first people we choose to kick out.
Yeah. Well, right. It's because their skin's the wrong color, Chip. That's why.
Exactly. I mean, and the idea that, sure, there are people in Mexico and Central America that are bad people.
There's people in this country that are bad people.
Well, and again,
there are bad people in this world. Sorry, there are.
First generation Americans commit crimes at a scale of 1 to 20. To what Americans do, I mean, everything about that. So when I talk to people about this, I mean, we do this every day. So I've gotten pretty well versed at, all these different subject matters. And that's one of the things that bothered me about, I mean, we need to teach Democrats to be able to talk to stupid people.
Republicans are good at it because they're surrounded by them.
How about people without an education? Trump says, I love uneducated people. And he said it in a way that revealed the truth. He doesn't want people that are going to question.
I love the uneducated. I love the uneducated.
Right. So, I mean, I guess what I'm really trying to say here today is that, we got to sack up and not fall into this game of panicking and pointing fingers at everybody. And yes, Joe Biden can still win the election in the fall.
Yes, he will win the election in the fall. If the Democrats will win the election in the fall. The Democrats will win the election in the fall. They have to. We have to win the election in the fall.
And that's, of course, that last part is the part that we need. We have to find a way to cut through Fox News and all. Mm-hmm. I haven't watched it this morning, but I'm sure they're celebrating.
I don't. Well, of course they are.
Yeah. But again, I would love to talk to them. I should probably try to get back on.
Why?
The problem is because I really think it's important for Democrats to go on Fox News and to, well, I mean,
You're not convincing anybody. You're not convincing anybody.
Well, I'm not trying to convince people. I just want to give them the facts hear them. No, I'm saying, what do you laugh?
They don't care about the facts. They don't care.
Of course, hey, come on, that's not right. There are people there that just have, Kellyanne Conway said it best when she was on with Chris Todd, with alternative facts, the whole idea. I mean, that's what they do. 1 + 1 = 2. However, if you try to, then, we all grant it, that's math, simple math. But what they've done is they said, well, what is 1? No, seriously, what is one? And we don't believe we have a problem with
One is
one.
pregnant with an unborn child, Chip.
Yeah. Well, I mean, making 10-year-olds carry children to term is
Yeah.
obviously. I mean, that was. I know we're all over the place here, but there is the theme to this is that um, these we used to have these the third rail issues. They call it the third rail
Yeah.
because that's the one that's electric on the subway. If you touch it, you die. And so Social Security for the longest time was the third rail issue. And then after Roe v. Wade, abortion became the third rail issue. Nobody talked about it.
Right.
It just kind of was out there. But the evangelicals and others who, again, they talked about adoption, but had no real plan set for that. They also didn't want birth control passed out, which, again, Clarence Thomas has said that possibly that's not a right of ours to have access to birth control. I mean, so again, this path, I don't think anybody, I really think of the 350 million, let's say 250 who are smart enough, old enough to think, nobody wants to go down this path because it is a rabbit hole. And I don't think you can get out of it.
No, and not everything needs to be legislated either. Like that's the thing. It's with the abortion debate, you can't make laws dictating pregnancy. It doesn't make any sense. That's why the government shouldn't be involved in it. You don't know the situation. You don't know those split-second decisions that a doctor needs to make. So how about this?
Well,
Let the
the
people
Supreme
that are in the
Court kind of backed you
situation.
on that in Idaho, right? About
Well,
emergency abortions, right? I mean,
right.
that
But
part.
at the same time, they shouldn't have to.
I hear you.
Like, that's my point. Like,
Yeah.
there are certain issues, such as my life is on the line. There's a doctor in front of me. My family is with me. Why doesn't the government just to stay the hell out of it? That's what I'm talking about. And there are issues like that the government does not need to be involved with. And if we're going to take things all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court, this whole issue of standing and whether somebody else is hurt by me making this own decision, that person has zero standing. It was the same with, gay marriage and what have you. You are not hurt by me making a decision that does not impact you at all. And that's the same. And this was a decision. The fact that Democrats failed to, make it so that Roe v. Wade was the law of the land. And I don't know how we dropped the ball on this for so long. I don't know. I don't know how we lost Roe v. Wade, but we did. And it sucks. It really, really sucks.
The argument was arranged in a manner that, you had judges with a theocratic tie to the issue. I mean, you have, right. You have Catholic Kavanaugh, of the 9 members, 6 are Catholics. And I grew up Catholic and,
Biden's Catholic. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to be, I could be Catholic and not have an abortion and still not agree that the government should be involved in the decision of another woman not making that, that's the point.
In the coal mines back in the day, they used to take a canary down in a cage because when the gases became bad enough that you couldn't tell, it would kill the canary. And so the canary in a coal mine is kind of another phrase for tipping point, except generally a tipping point, people can begin to see it happening. The events leading up to it. The canary just dies. He's alive and then he just dies. It's something so fragile that when we see it, we realize we have to make a move. I don't know if we've already passed that point. Part of me feels like we have. That the canary has died and that we really have to move fast. But I do know that, that this is where I go back. I bring it up all the time, and people got to read this book by Michael Lewis, The Fifth Risk, which is about the collapse of the infrastructure of our government by not having the right people in the right places. It's extremely important to have a strong bureaucracy, the people to get the stuff done, because it won't get, the checks, the Social Security checks and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, if Republicans go after Social Security, it's quite possible that, with a third of Americans eligible for Social Security, that's insane. I mean, that's like,
but I mean, you're also thinking at a time when, the boomer generation, how huge that is right now. Most of them vote. That doesn't make sense. The boomer generation,
but it doesn't matter if
in Washington right now. How many people in Washington right now are of the boomer generation? So
right, but again, if we turn this into an authoritative, almost aristocratic sort of government where we have I mean, let me ask you this: do you really think Trump, if he's elected, will leave in 4 years?
I don't ever wish death on anybody, but sometimes God just takes control, Chip. I mean, he's not going to live forever. He's not going to live forever.
Says you.
No,
I mean,
you know what I'm excited about? No matter win, lose, or draw, Biden or Trump. In 4 years, no matter what, I don't think that Trump's going to run for another term. In 4 years, I think we are going to have a clean slate no matter what, right? Whether Biden wins, yes, we will.
You know what will happen in 4 years?
Hmm.
If Trump becomes president, I mean, we will have set the table for. I mean, it's entirely possible that these Republican-run legislatures in 26 of the 50 states, which is enough to make a difference when you're talking about electors going in, it's quite possible that they could spike the rum, whatever you want a metaphor you use, to where it's not possible for Democrats to win again. And this all sounds crazy, but this is why I want people, when people get lethargic after a loss, right? Like last night in the debate, or a supposed loss, you got to wake up and you got to come out even stronger.
I still think that even though Biden didn't do well, Democrats are still energized. Like, I understand Biden didn't do well. I am still just as energized to not have another Donald Trump presidency as I was before that debate. He is just as frightening. I am just as pissed. Like, nothing has changed. Like, my passion as a Democrat, as a woman, as an American of where this country is going has not changed at all. My role as an American in this democracy has not changed. And I don't think that I'm an outlier here at all. So I don't think that there is like, oh my God, is this? I understand the whole, oh my God, these are our choices. But yes, these are our choices.
Okay. So what should the Democrats do Monday? Should they continue? Should there be a national discussion to replace Biden?
No, what we should do is should continue to hammer home Donald Trump's position on the issues that matter to the American people, where Donald Trump stands and where Biden stands. Because again, that is the question that Americans need to ask themselves. Where do you want this country to go? Do you believe in reproductive freedom? Do you believe in, keeping this track with the economy? Because you could say whatever you want. Oh my God, the inflation. Look at Wall Street. Look at the stock market. Look at what Biden has done. Go ahead. Actually do the research and don't just listen to Fox News. Go ahead and do these things. If you want to continue that, then vote that way. Donald Trump didn't answer any of the questions last night, and there is a reason why he didn't. And when he did answer the question, it was a lie. So you just need to do just a little bit of work. That's all. And I do think that on Monday, if the Democrats continue to just present the facts of both what Donald Trump stands for and what President Biden / Democrats stand for, it's clear. It's absolutely clear how people should vote.
Well, I like that. Have you seen the ad where they predict that Biden is going to die in the next 4 years? The Republican Party? They were supposed to run it last night.
I mean, and I don't want to be mean. It's not outside the realm of possibility.
No, I'm sorry. The ad that Biden will die in the next 4 years.
Yeah, that's what you said.
Biden's not going to die. Biden is actually, if you look at the actual.
It could happen though.
Well, yeah, we could die in this conversation.
I could die tonight. Yeah, it's not.
But I mean, obviously, the actual tables is what I'm talking about.
Trump, honestly, yeah. And then there would be a Kamala Harris presidency. And then I go back to what I said at the beginning of the show. Name one policy decision that would be different with the Kamala Harris president as a Biden president. And if you can't name one, then there's nothing wrong. And if there a policy decision, not that you just don't like her. That's stupid. So
it's a little Pollyannish, but I like it.
I mean, what policy decision is different? What policy different?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I know that.
Exactly. You don't know because there isn't one. There isn't one. She would do exactly what Biden's doing.
I think though that it is interesting to me to that people. She was one of the toughest crime attorney generals in California history, right?
Exactly.
And, again,
Democrats actually criticize, some Democrats
oh,
criticize
black
her on
people,
that.
a lot of black
Yes.
people. Yeah, yeah, right.
Do you think Republicans would actually like her for that? But
Well, right. I
you
mean,
can't give her a
and I think
compliment.
that
So.
was one of the things that we screwed up by not getting it out there more, right?
Well, you don't
That
want to
this is,
upset the progressives.
yeah.
So, you know
Let
what
me
I
see if
mean?
let me see if this is a video I want to show you.
When you think about the Joe Biden you saw in the debate, ask yourself a question. Do you think the guy who was defeated by the stairs, got taken down by his bike, lost a fight with his jacket, and regularly gets lost, makes it 4 more years in the White House? And you know who's waiting behind him, right? Vote Joe Biden today, get Kamala Harris tomorrow.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
They could have
So,
chosen a better picture of Trump at the end.
well, first of all, when the fact that Biden fell off a bicycle, can you imagine that other rotund dotard being able to
Exactly.
actually
At
get
least
on a
he
bicycle?
rides a
Less frightened anymore?
bicycle.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the bully aspect. It's kind of that. What are you saying though? Again, Donald Trump, not a uniter. What are you going to do for this country? It's all of the things that is wrong, right? I'm just going to be the bully. I'm not going to do anything to bring us together. If you want a repeat of that, fine. I'm tired of it. I'm just so tired. And for him to say, oh, we were doing so well under me. I love the argument that Trump kept trying to make. The country was doing great until COVID hit. So let me get this straight. The United States was great under Trump until we had a problem. That's great. So
Great
I love
point.
leaders.
That's a
I
great
love
point.
leaders that can lead a country until there's a conflict, until any sort of problem happens. Oh my God, I didn't have any wars. So nothing happened under your presidency and you were fine. But the minute a problem arose, any problem, you freaking tucked tail and failed. You failed to detect the pandemic. You failed to react appropriately. I mean, and just because wars don't happen under your presidency doesn't mean that when it happens under another president, it's a failure. Like, it's such an asinine argument. So,
Well, and he even mentioned the mask mandate as being something bad. And again, yeah, I mean, and the idea that, you got Rand Paul saying he wants to arrest Fauci. You have Hawley and others saying they want to arrest Garland. I mean, this is the kind of insanity that will tip it. You talk about the canary. If in fact, in his, a year from now or less, he starts to go down that road. I mean, I remember my sister had a friend at Kent State, and I was young. It was, barely a teenager when that happened. And I remember, the feeling. I was living in DC at the time, and again, but it feels so much different now, and I think it feels more out of control because there's absolutely no governor on the truth anymore. People can just say whatever they want. And, with Musk now allowing Twitter to be essentially a refuge for Nazis. Yeah. And Facebook is all over the place. And I mean, the voices I need to hear from, again, the Bush family, needs to stand up. The people that I think Republicans maybe still, I mean, you got
Romney. Become rhinos. Any Republican that stands up against Trump becomes a rhino. That's it. I mean, look at Adam Kinzinger. Adam Kinzinger is doing ads for Biden.
Yeah.
He's a rhino. Anybody.
By the way,
look at Cheney, Liz Cheney, a staunch conservative. Rhino. I mean, there's nobody. There's nobody. You're either MAGA or you're a rhino. That's it.
I don't know. I think that the "will you shut up, man" guy is still in there, and he said some pretty harsh stuff to him last night too. Yeah. But I think looking forward, we have to just ask ourselves a basic question: is do you have the spit? Because moving forward here from now on, everybody that believes that the country has a vulnerability that can be exploited needs to stand up and stop it from happening.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean,
all right. That's it for what's Franklin. I'm sorry to be a bummer, but I actually think there's a positive side to this. Stack up, America.
Yeah, exactly. Vote Democrat. There you go.
Yeah. That is Nikki Medoro. Find her on YouTube. She has her own channel too, and she's about to go do a show in a few minutes. And we do this once a week, and the good grace of her. She makes the whole show. Thank you so much, Nikki.
Of course.
I'm Chip Franklin. This is What the Franklin. Until next time, see you.
Bye.